My name is Andrea Puente-Catán. I'm the widow of Mexican opera composer Daniel Catán. We are here in the house that we used to live. We are here in South Pasadena, California, and Daniel composed this work here. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the opera Il Postino and how Daniel came up with this idea of writing this opera. So Il Postino is an opera based in a novel by Antonio Scarmeta, a Chilean writer, and the libretto, or the screenplay of Michael Radford and Massimo Troisi, the Italian actor. So after Daniel composed Sal Si Puedes, which is a Caribbean kind of opera that was premiered in Houston, he was looking for a story, but a story, of course, that would have love and death and passion and all sorts of operatic themes, human themes. So after reading a lot of novels of Latin American writers, we had the poet Pablo Neruda. I think we were looking for a story like for a year. And Daniel was very obsessive about when he wanted to compose something or when he was really engaged in any theme. So he was reading, and I was reading with him, and we would watch movies, etc. Anyway, so we found this story that really, this story moved all Latin America. It was very, very close to our hearts. The poetry of Pablo Neruda is amazing. But so Daniel chose this theme, and then it started. The opera started, really the process, when Daniel told executive director of Los Angeles Opera, well, I'm writing an opera with, and it's based in this book, and Pablo Neruda is the main character. So this executive director said, Edgar Weissel, he said, oh my God, that could be a role for Plácido, and that's how the whole process started. That same day, Plácido called Daniel, Maestro Plácido called Daniel, and he was very excited about this story and about portraying Pablo Neruda. So the story of Il Postino is the story of a common man that gets a job as a postman and meets Pablo Neruda, and Pablo Neruda was in his exile, and he was exiled in Italy. But the true story about this is the relationship between these two characters, where this great poet teaches this man how to use his words and become a poet. So it was like a teacher-student kind of relationship. It also has these themes of love of Pablo Neruda to his wife, Matilde, and Mario to Beatrice. He then become his wife in the story. So it also touches themes of love, exile, student-teacher relationship. So it has all that, but also it has like a political view and how politicians really affect the lives of anybody, because this story happens in this little place in Italy, the little town, where they had this politician that was promising water to the town, and when the politician wins the election, he just leaves, and he left the town without water. Il Postino is Daniel's fourth opera. He has Rappaccini's Daughter, which is based in an opera with text by Nobel Prize poet laureate of Mexico, Octavio Paz. Then he has Florencia en el Amazonas, which is based in characters of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, another Nobel Prize. Then Sal Si Puedes, which is based in a story of a Cuban writer, Eliseo Alberto. And then comes Il Postino, based in Antonio Scarmeta's novel. Daniel was very interested in Latin American writers, and more than anything, it was a mission in his life to create opera in Spanish. Well, all the works of Daniel are in Spanish, but the last by Frank Capra, and that's his only English opera. All the rest of the operas are in Spanish. So Daniel Catán was born in Mexico City in 1949, and his parents were from Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jewish background. He had that mixed in himself. And at 12 years old, he was sent to study in England to a boarding school. And he remained abroad until he was 30 years old. After England, then he moved to Princeton to do his doctorate degree in composition, and then he came back to Mexico. So for him, when he came back to Mexico, I think he rediscovered his roots, and he was really engaged in and invested in Latin American literature. He was very nurtured by Latin American writers. Daniel did win a competition in piano, but truly his path was composition. Composition mixed with literature, and those were his loves, music and literature. I met Daniel in Mexico City. I'm a harpist, and I met him in these contemporary music concerts, chamber music concerts, and a long time ago. I was 17 years old, and that's how we started to develop a friendship. And years later, we got married. Many years later, 20 years later. It was like on and off, like coming in and out from our lives until I got the post of first harpist in Bellas Artes, in the opera orchestra of Mexico City, and the first opera I played was Florencia en el Amazonas, and there he was. Daniel passed away when he was 62 years old, April 9th of 2011, suddenly, in his sleep. And at the time he was working in his American opera, which is Meet John Doe. And he was in Austin, Texas, because he was having a residency as a composer and as a teacher there, as a professor. And but he was working in Meet John Doe when he passed away. The opera was incomplete. He was short 5 scenes, and with a Mellon Foundation grant, we completed it. I say we because I was coordinating the project, but it was completed by a Mexican conductor and composer, Eduardo Díaz Muñoz.
In my mind, it was logical that I should have been involved because of my knowledge of Daniel's music, because of our personal relationship.
And by 2 Eastman graduates, composers that live here in Los Angeles, Micaela Eramisova and Jairo Duarte.
It is difficult because as a composer you are aiming for finding your own voice, and in this case you are really trying to find the language of the other composer.
And the opera is complete now. All the scenes are complete and it's finished. So each opera of Daniel has like a distinctive seal, I would say, a distinctive language. In the case of Il Postino, it's a big orchestra that he uses, and he was really delighted to use all the instruments. He did use many Spanish themes, and I think he was very, very inspired by Manuel de Falla. That was one of his inspirations. He also uses a Sephardic romance from the 12th century, Sephardic from Spain, in the Beatrice aria. So it's very influenced by Spanish themes. Also, he uses a tango, he uses a bolero when he has this song called Comprendo. A bolero is a Mexican song, romantic. There's some music that everybody loves in this opera. One is the bolero, which I think it comes 3 times in the opera. This is called Comprendo. Then there's the tango that everybody loves. I think for me, the most beautiful music for me is the music that is orchestral, when Mario and Giorgio are recording the sounds of the island. That's a moment where you can really see the craft of Daniel Catán as an orchestrator, and he loved orchestrating. And this is where you hear all these timbres and the way he uses the orchestra. So for me, those are moments that are really beautiful. and also I would say the love duets between Beatrice and Mari. So Daniel Catán gave a voice to all of us that love Spanish and speak Spanish, and his mission was to put these literary works on stage by this medium, this art form, which is amazing, which is opera. And I think he really honored our language, which is Spanish. And I'm very glad he could do it, and he could do it here in America, where we have 49 million people speaking Spanish. Come to see Il Postino at the Lobero Theater in Santa Barbara on March 7th and 8th, 2020. Queridos amigos, vengan a ver Il Postino en el Teatro Lobero en Santa Bárbara el 7 y el 8 de marzo. No se van a arrepentir. El lenguaje de nosotros, del español, es bellísimo y la historia es lindísima. Y vengan a disfrutar un momento genial. Gracias. Amigos, no le tengan miedo a la ópera. Simplemente van a escuchar una historia humana, una historia llena de amor, pasión, y es una historia cantada. Qué bueno que van a venir a la ópera. La ópera es para todos y es para que todos nosotros la disfrutemos. Gracias. Well, what I said in Spanish was, don't be afraid to come to the opera. And truly, nobody should be afraid of coming to the opera. The opera is just really telling a story, a compelling story by singing, with people singing, and mixing all the art forms. You know, you have an orchestra, you have the singers, you have the sets, you have the costumes, you have the lighting. So we should not be afraid of opera. Actually, opera should be welcoming to all of us. And just sit there and enjoy.